Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Now, I'm normally not a political YouTuber, a political commentator. I don't really make political videos. I don't analyze politics professionally. I mostly do that on my own time, as normal people do. Just think about it at the back of my head. I do vote. I do participate in elections in the United States because I'm an American citizen after all. That's one of the things about being a citizen is you have the right to vote to elect your leaders. And one of the things I want to talk about is the 2016 election. It's kind of a bygone era now. It happened about 8 years ago now. But I wanted to talk about it because, I don't know, just the recent things that have happened have made me reflect upon that day. A lot of deja vu feeling. But there's also a different atmosphere from what I'm feeling socially and thinking about my story, experiencing all these hyped up elections, hyping up candidates like they're celebrities and things like that. But 2016 was a very different time. I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, and 2016 election involved Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee, and Donald Trump, the Republican nominee. Donald Trump seemed like a very radical candidate at the time. Hillary Clinton seemed like a very career politician, deep state corrupt type of person that both sides of the media, conservative, liberal spectrum, everybody in the media tried to vilify each candidate in whichever way possible. That's how it is in American media. There's just a lot of bias. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of hyping up. There's a lot of mass hysteria. There's a lot that's going on when it comes to media and influence. But I kind of want to describe the day after the 2016 election. It was a special type of feeling, you know. In 2016, there was like all this fear that Donald Trump would be some like dictator, authoritarian president, that he would he's like this xenophobic type of guy, that he would close down the border, he would kick out all Muslims, Mexicans, minorities. And then there's the other side that paints Hillary Clinton as a warmongering Democrat, corrupt politician that's gonna bring us into World War III. They always put the devil's horns on both candidates. So Donald Trump seemed scary to my side of the family because we're Hispanic, and there was a lot of rhetoric that was going against Hispanics, and that Trump was gonna deport all Mexicans, and that he was gonna find like all the bad hombres and stuff like that. It was that type of rhetoric that Trump was giving out, and then the media was spewing out, and that got to my family that they had fears that they're gonna revoke our citizenship, and they're gonna deport all Hispanics, and there's gonna be all sorts of like hate towards Hispanics. And it was that fear that kind of just affected me like mentally in the back of my head. A lot of that rhetoric also went to my white friends, who I had a mostly like Caucasian friend demographic, with a couple of other, colored people. I had a black friend. I had a Filipino friend in my friend group, but I was the only Hispanic, and they would always tease me because of I'm Hispanic or Mexican. And when the 2016 election was going on, there was just like a lot of mass hysteria in people's heads, and they were just crossing their fingers that whichever candidate was gonna win, like they're not gonna completely cause the collapse of the country. And then the morning after, because we didn't hear the results until the morning after, I woke up that morning and asked my parents like, who won? And then they were like, oh, Trump won. All right, Trump won the 2016 election. Cool, I guess it's time to go to school. And when I got to school, the first thing my friends told me, they were pretty much ridiculing me. In a way, they were teasing me like, oh, haha, like now your parents are gonna get deported, haha. And there was a lot of like jokes going around the school. One of my Hispanic friends went into a classroom, and then he walked out like, oh, ooh, okay, I'm not supposed to be here now. Trump's president, now he's gonna kick me out. And I think of that time as just being like ridiculous. There was a lot of like ridiculous reactions to Donald Trump winning. A lot of mass hysteria, and a lot of like irrational thoughts and fears that were around because he just got He just got elected. And one of the talks that one of my teachers had, it was one of my AVID teachers. He was also my chemistry teacher. But if you guys know what the AVID program is, it's like a college prep class for first gen students, and primarily a lot of the class demographic was Hispanic. And he had a talk with us the morning after that, like, there's really nothing to worry about. Like, Donald Trump isn't gonna get like buses and start rounding people up and 11 million people up and taking them down south. That's just not gonna happen. And I agreed with him that that's just not realistic, that he's gonna send like Gestapo squads and knock on people's doors looking for Mexicans like Jews during the Holocaust. That's just not feasible. That's just not sound. And there's a lot of checks and balances for really any type of person not to abuse that type of power and strip people of their citizenship. There's just this irrational thought and predictions and speculation just because they made a candidate look very scary. And the other thing that followed up the day after the election, like days after and months after, were the protests. The protests that happened because Trump won. There was mass protest. There were protests in all sorts of like big cities where they're mainly blue Democrat. There were riots. I think so. There were like people like there was a lot of civil unrest. And one of the weirdest protests that I remember was the Day Without Immigrants protest. So back in 2017, I remembered that there was a day that where, like, if you were like an immigrant or you were sons of immigrants, that you were encouraged to not go to work or not go to school in order to protest Trump's policies on the border, immigration, whatever. And I remember going to school that day, and the classes were just mainly empty of people protesting. I was probably like one of the only few Hispanics in my class that actually did go to school. And I remember at the time talking to my friends that it was just it felt kind of ridiculous to protest in this way, because it essentially just doesn't accomplish anything, because like you already set a deadline for your protest, like a day without immigrants. Like, it's only going to last a day and then everything's going to go back to normal. Just not going to these type of things isn't going to help. And even like if the protest lasted more than a day, I don't think it would be qualified as like a strike in some ways. I don't know. But I feel like in some places like that just leaves your job to get replaced by someone else. I don't know if that's legal, but I don't know. That just leaves it open for a whole different can of worms. I don't know. And then there was just all sorts of things that happened, all sorts of messy politics that happened. There was a Mueller report, people investigating whether Russia was involved, all sorts of things, poking and prodding. I just hope that in this day and age, how this election turned out, if you're probably watching this video because it's related to the current events that are happening, the current turnout of this year's presidential election, that I'm hoping we don't face a repeat of that. We don't face a repeat of civil unrest, irrational discourse, and I hope that we actually just find a way to just stick to rational dialogue and let the wheels of democracy turn and actually hope for the best. Because I'm tired. I wasn't really a voter because this all happened before I turned 18. But now I kind of just like, it's just best to focus on ourselves, focus on the like bettering ourselves as people, and just coming back together after all these years of turmoil. I think now people are trying to get some sort of sense of normalcy after all of this, and hopefully so the next 4 years turn out to be maybe even the best 4 years, hopefully. I don't know what this new administration, what our next round of politicians are going to do, how they're going to turn the wheels. I don't know what the thoughts are of the powers that be, but I just hope that they have the best in mind, the best policies in mind, the best for all sorts of people to thrive in society. Well, I just hope that whatever legislation is made, that it's made in the best interest of people. I know that there's a lot of controversial laws that exist for a lot of people, especially women, especially for immigrants, for minorities. I know there's a lot on the table that's at stake for their rights to exist, to do what they want to do. But yeah, I guess at this point we just let the wheels of democracy turn and move on with our lives. That's my piece. That's my history behind at least reacting to these types of elections. So yeah, if you guys have different types of thoughts, stories, make sure to leave it down in the comments, and I'll see you guys probably in the next one. Peace.